In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with Tre Tailor. Coping.
The first thing I want to know, guys, is how do men communicate? I mean, we know that you communicate different than us. That's obvious, But, so anybody want to chime in? How do men essentially communicate?
I would say they don't.
Wow.
I'm going straight in today.
Yeah, and why is that, Ty?
I mean, I can speak for me and how I grew up. I grew up in a very low country, impoverished community, and we weren't able to express our feelings. I grew up without a dad in my later adolescence years. But as a child, I had my father. He was military. My parents were military. But after they got divorced, we had to come to the country, and I didn't have a male figure. It was a lot of women. So the women had great conversation. The women did everything. But me and my cousins, we really didn't know each other. So we had to kind of figure it out by playing football. And we would say, okay, well, I guess I'm a man. I got to play football. I got to beat you. That was our way of communicating. But we did not verbally communicate.
Wow.
Because I communicate with both of these gentlemen, and we communicate with each other. Sometimes it's more reciprocal, like I get it back. But I knew what I needed coming up, what I didn't have because I was different. And then Ty and Aaron and Dion and some of the other guys, they're different, but different don't mean crazy. But I tried to give them what I didn't get. And that was just simple encouragement to become and be your best self. Ty gives us permission to dress up and just come out. And now I got to, redo my suits because I can fit in different size suits. He walked up on me in church the other day and just like, man. Yeah, and so that was encouragement because I know what that meant since he did that original picture that you have of me.
Right.
Ty took that 116 pounds ago. So his communication with me is, I see you progressing, even though he doesn't say that. I see what you're doing with your physicality, and I respect that, and then me to him is, I got to come take some more headshots. So I got to come back to you. Aaron and we communicate on a different level because one, I believe in mental health, so I know his purpose in my life. And so when I vibe with him or take an interest in conversing with him, I'm trying to make sure I'm healthy. And at the same time, I'm attempting to give him a platform to be healthy, to speak back, because he have a level of freedom in not only what he do, but in, I guess, perceiving who it is he's talking to. So we talk when we talk, but we don't have to talk every day. So our communication is when it happens, it happens. And it only happens with a few people because you can only trust so many with the authentic you.
Wow, that's interesting, Dre. And I want to piggyback on that, and then I want to bring you back in here to answer the question, Aaron, from a psychological standpoint. But so, Dre, you're saying that even though you didn't grow up with either of these gentlemen in your adult years, you are fostering a relationship with them. But don't you think that is different than like what Ty said? I mean, he was talking about how he was raised to learn to communicate. As an adult, you've learned to connect with the right people.
Right. I phased into this. I was the loner too. Like a lot of people say, well, Dre, when you show up, you're the life of the party. People don't know. I'd rather be at home by myself. I actually enjoy. I'm an extrovert. You do your my Myers-Briggs. I'm an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. Extrovert, introvert. Because this is what I enjoy. I go do what I do and be who I am when I'm out. But in my being, I'd rather be to myself so I can be available and accessible. And no, I didn't always have that, but I've always tried to be this because I knew what I needed and didn't get. And so when I got it, because I didn't have the father, the male figure in the leadership. So when I got it, I cherished it. I cherished it so sometimes to the place of abuse. I permitted them to abuse me because I wanted it so bad. That don't make
everything has a beginning. And, I'm someone who grew up with a father. And I think it was a part of the conditioning, even from being a young male, that when it comes to communication, less is more. Less is more. So, boys growing up in the men tend to be a lot less expressive as a result of that. And so, making that connection to adulthood, men who undertake the challenge of becoming more effective in that communication have to, first of all, do that whole self-inventory and diving into like, why am I not very effective in my communication? Why am I using one word to describe my entire day? Like, how was your day? It was good. Like, a lot of stuff went on throughout the day, and you find a one word to do it, and that doesn't adequately begin to capture what the day is or what you were feeling, et cetera, et cetera. So it is it's something that every man at some point has to undertake that challenge to be more effective in that communication.
I know a lot of people saying less is better, but in 38 years, my dad probably said he loved me 15 times, but I knew that he always loved me, even there since I was a kid, since I was born. So I guess you have to go through things. Like now, I tell my children, my sons, all the time, as a man, I love you. Every time I leave you, we got a handshake. It's a hug. It's communication. It's physical communication. So I think you do have to go through a lot of things to understand what communication is between men.
Yeah,
I think we're learning. I think we're learning. Like I said, it does depend on who it is. I think my philosophy has been, because I'm a heart person, it has been that it takes men to give other men permission to say I hurt, or to say I need help, or to say I'm struggling. Women can tell us that, or to even cry. I think it takes a man to give another man, I'm talking about grown man and down to boyhood, permission that it's okay, that it's not feminine, it's not soft to say that hurt me, or it's not soft to say, I missed that, I messed that up, or it actually takes courage. And so I think that men are attempting, from those that I'm dealing with, attempting to move into a place of wholeness, because we understand our fractured representation, if I could say it like that. We've been fractured, so we know we got to do something, and we know we can't do it all by ourselves. So in our communities that we're beginning to build, I can see the evolving of that, the accountability of that. Matter of fact.
Yeah, that's real. Like, I remember, and listening to Dre talk, I remember when I first met him and I saw him, he was so real on the stage, and I was like, man, that's good. From a man's perspective, and I'm speaking for most men, not all, but from a man's perspective, when we feel safe, we communicate, right? So if I feel like you're real, like if I knew Andre was real from what he would share his testimony, and I'd be like, ooh, wow, I would have never guessed that. But he opened up. And the more we begin to open up, the more we begin to communicate. The more we can begin to communicate. Once we were real with ourselves and we get through our embarrassing moments. I just had that experience like 2 months ago. I had to sit down with somebody and I said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and get this embarrassing moment out the way for the next 30 days. I'll take it. I said, because next year, this time it's gonna be different.
Right.
That was communicating to them. Right. Meaning I'm willing to take whatever you gotta, say, because I'm well aware of who I am, full of self-love and all that stuff now. But like CJ said, I had to go through a whole lot of things to get to this point. It wasn't even really a matter of one person. It was a matter of a group of people, male, female. It was a group. It was a community of people that caused my experience to allow me to feel safe and to feel, vulnerable enough to even learn how to communicate.
Is that important as a man for you to hear somebody, another man, tell you that they love you?
I believe it is. I believe it is. I have a couple friends that even when we hang up the phone with each other, we say, all right, bro, I love you.
Wow.
And at first it was uncomfortable. Like my first couple of times, I'm like, oh, hold on, bro. I don't
Right.
Not like that.
Yeah. And then after now, it's like natural. You know what I'm saying? So now even when I talk to my kids or other homeboys, now I say, hey, all right, bro, I love you. Y'all take care. So it's a thing that you're gonna have to learn. It's like Ty was saying, it's uncomfortable at first, but as you get to that point of loving who you are and understanding who you are as a man, it's easy to tell the men that, hey, Mr. Dre, I love you. Mr. Ty, I love you. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to say that now.
Yeah. Aaron, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's all true. I mean, even from a professional standpoint, even in sessions sometimes. And, you know, once I've developed a rapport working with a man, and one of the most difficult parts of being a man is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in sessions sometimes, and a guy might say, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah.
So in a normal flow of things, that would ride, right? You're talking to your boys, and I always ask, like, what is it?
Right. What is it?
Like, what is it? Because I don't know what it is, you know. So just one of these examples of how again, it's difficult being vulnerable, but like, if we're going to be effective in our communication and talking about, in that instance, what's bringing us to therapy, we have to be able to identify what it is. To begin with. But, you know, again, I've been on both sides of it, so I know that that's something that is, like I said, it is challenging.
So, Andre, as a man of the cross, a man of God, are you hearing men that are coming to you for counsel say that they're okay with talking to you and talking to an Aaron Ashford with Transcendence?
Of course, I actually recommend it because, you know, sometimes we always make it look like to be religious or spiritual, to have faith, you can't have both. And my comeback for that is they call Jesus Wonderful Counselor. And so if he was the wonderful counselor and he saves me and tell me to be renewed in my mind, and there's some luggage in my mind, I need a wonderful counselor in the earth. I need mental wellness in the earth. And then the other thing that you addressed, Trey, is when I saw what was happening as it relates to race and the COVID, actually it fired me up. I went back to school. I got a bachelor's degree. I'm working on my master's in organizational leader. I got certified as a mental health coach, and I lost 116 pounds during COVID. So COVID turned into a timeout for me. Absolutely. It was a divine, it was a blessing, because I didn't have to be busy speaking here and doing this there. Everybody had to sit down and you had to be with yourself. And then that was where I was able to tell myself, through talking to Aaron and Patrick Patterson and some other people, Ty and Dion, some other people that I just communicate with, to give myself permission, watch this, to be okay with who I am.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool, but I was cool for everybody, but I wasn't cool with me dealing with some of that stuff that I hadn't unpacked. You know, out of my own self, and trying to allow someone else to measure my goodness, you know, needing that affirmation of a man, when not really I was possibly called to be the man I've been looking for.
Yes, sir. And
so when you sweep that out the way, you realize I'm a bad dude. So I never feared failure. I feared success.
Yeah.
I never feared failure because I failed before. It was the responsibility of the success and how bad, I'm going to say it like I feel it, how I say it, how bad I am in God. But God used you know, other people since I've been here in South Carolina to help pull that out of me. Now we're ready to do some of the things that I've been hiding, you know, some of the things I've been dumbing down to make other people feel better.
Is it that men don't want to take care of their health, or is it I am too strong, I don't need to go to the doctor? We love you and we want you to be okay. How can we help you go to the doctor?
Oh, who said it? Aaron, go. I'll wait.
Yeah,
you go.
I'll be brief. I think it's a combination of things. I mean, that all come together and form a very unhealthy way of thinking, which in turn is a very unhealthy way of living. I mean, so there's a lot of, some men have an inherent fear of like doctors, and there's like mistrust around the whole entire medical community. A lot of men, I think it still stems from being vulnerable. I go to this, I'm vulnerable, and they feel like, oh, I'm going to find, you know, I'm going to get sick, as opposed to, thankfully, a lot of forward-thinking men that understand the importance of being proactive with their health, and they do go and get the regular check. So again, I think it's a combination of things, just to simply put it.
Yeah. Dre, you were going to jump in?
He said it. It's one of those. It's one of those things where he's Superman. You know, I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? And then subconsciously, you might be scared something else going on, so you don't check it. I literally end up going to the doctor when I discovered I had diabetes, because my body didn't respond on a couple of occasions, and I just got married. And I'm like, that ain't normal. Let me go, And Lisa was like, "Go, you better go and see what's going on." And my blood sugar was off the Richter scales, where everybody come in, oh, you did a great job losing that weight. I had to. It wasn't that I necessarily wanted to. I had to, in order to get the diabetes down and manageable. Watch this. In order to get an insurance policy. I had one on me for my kids, but I just got married, but I didn't have one on me to take care of my wife should something happen. And this is the business of being a husband. This is the business of life, of marriage. And so I lost the weight, got it down, maintaining it. And then I was able to get the insurance policy that I needed to be able to have some peace if something should happen to me, that my wife would be straight, because my kids were already straight. So I was forced to. Because, former military whore, and Tre, why didn't y'all tell me I was that big? You know me since I've been here. Nobody told me. I guess because,
listen, you looking at you every day. I think
I didn't know I was that big, but when it was It's Okay, when in our It's Okay days, I weighed a whole John 3:16. For God so loved the world. That's what I weighed. And so when I look back at the pictures, I realized this too, though, and this goes in line with the conversation that we're having. I had drowned the big me, the anointed me, inside the big me.
Wow.
I hid myself in food or eating at night and just going to sleep. I went through a depression too. In all that being all this for everybody, I lost me, dumbed me down to try to fit in with other insecure people and let them be okay. And I'm dying.
Wow.
So it was a lot of things going on inside that until you come to that confrontation with yourself. Sometimes that's what it takes for a man to come face himself and go, that ain't healthy. That's not good. And that ain't sexy. And, you couldn't tell me I wasn't sexy at 316 pounds. That was
well, I think you were sexy. I mean, you were just big and sexy. But listen, but like you said, and you said two things that I really want to talk about: a woman and the kids. And so, CJ, I want to come to you first with the kids. How can men communicate better with their children, with their girl children and their boy children?
Transparency. I think that's the biggest thing that you can do with your children, whether it's good or bad, whether it's about school, whether it's about parenting, you know what I'm saying, or co-parenting. I think transparency is my biggest thing with my children, and that's just a short and sweet spot about it. Like I'm transparent about everything with my kids.
What do you wish women knew? Ty?
Get me caught up. I wish women knew how to listen.
Not hear what they want to hear.
Listen. Like, just listen. A part of a man, Andre said it, being vulnerable is us expressing ourselves. But we want to express ourselves without being interrupted, judged, categorized, criticized. So just listen. If you let me listen, you just turn me on.
Wow. So not respond, just listen.
Don't respond, just listen.
Wow. That's good. Aaron?
Man, I'll say one because I could monopolize it. I wish that women knew, let me finish this, their place. And I don't mean that in a chauvinistic way. Right.
Absolutely.
But I do feel that we all have a place when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Men have a role, women have roles. It doesn't mean we can't expand or expound on those roles that have to look identical to, previous people. But I think a lot of women, because they don't know their place, they cannot align themselves in a relationship with a man. Too many women are trying to be a man's sparring partner. That was never their creation. We're dealing with enough things.
Right.
One thing a man wants to know at the end of the night, when he gets home, is that you're okay.
Wow.
Everything's okay.
Right.
You're not looking to fight. He's been doing that all day. So he's looking for support. And so, the sooner women would understand that we aren't rivals. men aren't looking for sparring partners.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we got our buddies for. You know, we're looking for a woman to compliment us. I'll say this and I'll stop, but like, not to take a dig at my frat brother Steve Harvey with his book. I'm thinking, man, this is probably the most asinine thing I've ever heard of. Act like was it?
Think
Act
like
a woman, think like a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, act like a lady, think like a man. I don't want to be with a woman that's thinking like a man.
No.
I got manhood on lock.
Right.
I'm thinking like a man. I need you to think like a lady.
Wow.
And we're gonna be compatible.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to all of that.
Yeah. CJ, I see you throwing up your amen hand over there.
Hey, because they hit it on the head, man. I think it's like he was saying, just allowing men to be men.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of women, like say for instance, a lot of women grew up in a household with their fathers. So even when we're talking about things, he's saying, "Oh, my daddy said." So just allow your man to be your man. So you know, when you trust in me enough, then you'll allow me to be that person. You'll allow me to be that man who you need or who you want to be in your life. But other than that, just allow men to be men.
Yeah. Dre, what do you wish women knew?
Well, I'm gonna contact CJ. I understand what he's saying, and yet some women get threatened by this term. I'm allowing him to be a man. You can't allow me to be who I'm already am. You got to learn to accept who I'm already am. And the one thing that I wish that women knew or could embrace or hear is, in the context of a man being a man, it takes nothing away from you to allow him to be your covering. Here we go. You're so used to the absence of manhood sometime, or get a man that does not know how to cover, till you're so used to doing what you're doing and then claiming that the man is threatened by what you have or who you are. A real man is never threatened by what you have or who you are. The threat might come by you, what has you, that you think you use as an excuse not to be the woman, to be the weaker or the gentler or the cherished vessel. I wish our women, I'm talking about culturally, knew how to be covered. And when the man is available and willing to do what he's supposed to do, your role or your lane without insult, move out of that. Move out that way, because you're missing the blessing. Right? I wish women knew men don't want a bad B.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Men might play with a bad B.
Wow.
He might lay with a bad B.
Wow.
Might put up under the table of a bad B. But a man don't want a bad B.
Wow.
He wants a lady. You know, he wants a lady, someone he can put on his arm and carry his name. And another thing, stop acting like what you have is threatening to a man. It ain't never threatening.
Right.
The problem is it has you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women use that as an excuse to justify being single. Can't find no men out here. Stop playing. We don't want no bad B. We don't want that. My nail. Nobody wants that. That's TikTok. TikTok wants that. You get
TikTok wants
that. You get a lot of followers.
Yes, sir.
You know how many bad B's are by themselves?
Yeah. Do
the math.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no man can't handle me. First of all, he don't want to handle you. He wants to lead you. It's a difference. So, you know, it's okay. We can go all the way back to the it's okay days, Trey, on this one. No man don't want no bad B. You be a bad B by yourself. B stands for by yourself.
You be a bad by yourself. That's the key. You be a bad by yourself. Yeah. CJ, should we look for mentors as women? Do we look for mentors for our sons? And do you all look for mentors that are necessarily of the same ethnic background? Does that make a difference?
I think it makes a difference to meet them where they are, but I think everybody can learn from everybody. You can take the meat, spare the bones. Mm-hmm. So like Pastor was saying, he was kind of hitting towards the youth. The youth need us, no matter what aspect they need us in. Mr. Andre, I'm a lieutenant at DJJ right now. Okay. So I see a lot. Even stuff you saw in the news the other day, I was a part of that stuff. So they need us. They need us. Women need mentors of all ages. Everybody needs mentors. I'm gonna ask Mr. Andre, can he be one of my mentors now? Because it's a needed thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been following Ty and his Established Gents since he started it, and I'm gonna make the first community flash mob I think on the 11th. I want to say, right?
Yes, sir. Saturday. Yes,
so,
sir.
I got me in the fresh little soup, so I'm ready for that. So I think mentoring our kids is really much needed, man. They are lost. We lost about 18 kids in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And I think 11 of those kids I taught and coached at Columbia High. I was over there for about 15 years coaching. Wow. So it's needed, man. That stuff is needed, and I get emotional about it because I know I've lost kids that I've coached and seen them laid in that casket. And it's like, I just saw you, and the only thing they had to do was talk.
Right.
But sometimes they talk, but they're not communicating. They're just talking to us just to get us out their face. So not understanding what our mission is to them, they just go out and make crazy decisions. But with guys like Mr. Aaron and Mr. Andre and Ty Will, I think we have a good foundation to kind of move and help those guys a lot more.
Yeah. We're going over. Go ahead, Andre. I'm sorry.
I want to add to you. A mother cannot pick a mentor for the child. The child has to give the person permission to mentor them. Yeah, sometimes the mother picks somebody they think that will be good for their child because they get involved and then disturb the mentoring process because they think the person that's helping their child is for them. They're not for you. They're for your child. So your child, you can introduce them, but it's up to your child to give that person permission to mentor them. That's very important.
That's a good point, man. That's great.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Sawyer, an entrepreneur and caregiver. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Up to 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. This message brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of SC.
Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Hey, before I leave, I want to share this devotional with you. This is from Conversations with God. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams with Agape Counseling and Training Services in Columbia, South Carolina. This is such a great book. It includes some of her prayers, some of her diary readings, and devotionals. This one says, "Trust me, my child. I know you're having a hard time praying, studying, and focusing on me. I know you don't like the way this feels. You can't rely on your feelings." That's good. This is about knowing, being faithful, and holding on. Knowing even if you don't feel or see it. Isn't that such a wonderful reminder that God is with us always, even if we don't feel it, see it, or hear it? We've got to know it. That's what faith is all about. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams from Agape Counseling and Training Services. This is called Conversations with God. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. The good thing about it is that we're never alone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you. Coping, find peace of mind to survive